also our commentary, so we're just gonna speak really, really fast the entire time, and not give you a chance to really follow what's going on.
Bold of you to assume I actually talk slowly. Anywhere. Ever.
So anyway, this is the second last match in our second round of Swiss phase. We have Xander and Vlack. It's a good match. This is probably one of the closer ones we've had overall.
Oh, yes.
So it's exciting to see how this one's going to turn out.
And not to mention, we also get a rare treat. They both use the same routes, so we actually don't have to play guessies and trying to figure out who's winning.
Yeah, it's not like last night's four-way where we had two different routes, but between each pair that were actually racing, it was different routes.
Ah, those are good times.
So, here we have, they do, I don't know what we call it, quick sword, early sword, something. Vlack got it where he picks up the sword before the cutscene. It allows him to save just a few frames. Yeah. Xander gets it afterwards, and he doesn't get those frames.
But still,
the Phantom Mad asking who the voices are, though. I am none other than Space Otter, and with me is the sexy voice known as Crunchy Lex.
Yep, the voice is all you get.
Oh, feels bad, man.
I mean...
tune into his stream to get the face. Oh, wow, they are... So, we didn't even get to talk about it, but, they got a lot of rupees from the beach very quickly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you know, the same thing that lets you pick up rupees with your sword works with the shield, as in the game treats them as different hitboxes from Link, so you can actually pick up the rupee twice, both with your shield and with Link, and the game just says, yeah, you're good, that's 2 rupees, you're fine.
Yeah, so they both got 8 rupees very quickly on the beach, and then they also got an extra rupee, which they kind of accidentally duped while getting their seashell there.
And this is just kind of wild. They're getting ridiculously similar RNG.
Yeah, this thing is amazing. Except
Vlack having a little bit of
Vlack's
trouble being crime boy. He's too good, too pure. Stealing is not in his blood.
You don't want to be like me, Vlack.
But I guess a little bit, a couple of fill-in. They're just picking up powder here because it's faster than doing the mushroom. There, you're caught up. But Vlack versus Xander, this is going to be a good race, like Spice Flower said, because they're both really, really strong runners. In fact, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because at the moment, Vlack has been kind of an unstoppable force in LALADX, and Xander has just been practicing really hard. So these are both runners at the top of their game, and the top of their game is very high up indeed.
Vlack's the kind of guy who, like, when he gets into something, he gets into it and he takes over. Like, there was a short period in our any percent category where the world record was just going back and forth between him and TGH and Hanky. Like, all of them doing tremendous work. And, he only learned Hundo very recently, I think, but he's 3rd place on the leaderboards right now.
Yes. Speaking of categories, we should come back to that a bit later, because we're coming up on the first instance of bomb triggers, one of the most important tricks in this entire game.
So basically, if you use bombs, magic happens.
That's actually not that way of describing it. But I guess the less magic way of describing it is, the game only wants you to have 1 bomb on the screen at a time, so if you use a screen transition to drop 2 really close to each other, I want to say within, I think it's 4 frames or so, the game doesn't know where to put the second bomb in memory, and it just goes somewhere else, and that somewhere else happens to cause events to trigger on the screen you're on.
Oh, Xander. So Xander, he tried to do a pit walk, and as he says, if you're gonna do it once, you gotta try twice. There is a small chance that when you do that, you can actually cross that gap without having to go all the way around, but he's claimed it's a 50-50, but there's no way that's true.
I mean, it could be. Maybe we just don't have a big enough sample size.
Yeah, I think he and GT are the only ones who ever try it.
Maybe he's due just to get it 100 times in a row after missing it 100 times. We don't know.
Apologies for my very annoying cat. So they're collecting this seashell in the Dungeon 1, which is very well hidden behind a bombable wall. You can detect that by poking your sword against every single wall in the game, but Who actually does that?
I mean, people with a lot of patience, or this is the only game they have until they can afford a new one with their allowance. Who really knows?
Yeah, or me when I was a kid.
Yeah, same. But you do notice a couple of things, though. They stole the bow and arrow earlier, which actually is extremely strong in the early game because it does a lot of damage, and the game does not intend you to have it. And you'll see that when we get to the mini-boss. But it's also incredibly useful because when combined with bombs, and this is actually not a glitch, it's developer intended, they don't just let you bomb things far away, but it also lets you bomb things without having to wait for the fuse. So you're going to see them use bomb arrows a lot against things close to them just so it's faster.
That's actually funny, and we'll see it later, but there's some spots where it seems that the designers and developers weren't quite, like, fully informed of everything going on, and the designers sort of did stuff where if you knew about bomb arrows, you could get a nice shortcut in the dungeon. So we'll be seeing that later, where we skip large parts of dungeons just because we know about walls that you can bomb early on.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at you, D8. And speaking of walls, they just did some shenanigans there. There's a reason why we use a 1.0 version, because that game lets you do something called a super jump. You may have been seeing them push into corners. It lets you clip into the wall 1 or 2 pixels, and if you do a very specific jump, the game thinks you're one level higher up and lets you jump down, even though you're not actually up, and lets you go over things. It's really handy, and you'll see them used a lot in dungeons and caves.
Also, I see Xander in chat saying, "Damn you, frame rule." I think he's referring to his attempted pit walks.
Yeah, frame rules and subpixels are a thing that are actually a danger in this game. Unlike a lot of other games, you might hear runners complain about them, they're just kind of throwing shade now. In this game, they actually do cause you trouble.
Yeah, there are certain things like pits where I think it's only every 4th frame you can actually fall into it. So, depending on how your global frame counter is when you're trying to do the pit walks, you might just get sucked right in.
It's true. And you know, we spent so much time talking about the tech, because there's a lot of it kind of happening at the beginning quickly, that we actually completely talked over the most difficult boss in the game.
Rupee duping?
No, actual boss. Actual boss.
So the actual boss is Moldorm, as everyone knows from Link to the Past. He's even worse than Link to the Past, because if you get hit, like, you're going down.
Yeah, thankfully in this one it's a lot easier to avoid getting knocked down, and if you get knocked down, you can buffer the feather to kind of get out more quickly. But he's still incredibly annoying. But I guess that's the price we pay for getting the Rock's Feather, one of the most broken items in the game, right in the first dungeon. In fact, here we're using it already to do another super jump to get this heart piece early. And also, if you enjoyed our last tournament, the No Scoop tournament, you may be noticing this time we are using Save and Quit, and that's because this category is a little bit different. It's 100% no woob. There's no sk in there. So saving and quitting is in fact permitted in this category. But that's not all there is to it. 100% does have a few little nuances to it.
One of those nuances being this lovely photographer who we visit, and unfortunately we don't get beat up by them, but we as part of 100%, we do have to collect all 12 photographs, and so we get actually our second photograph of the game from here, as well as our photo book, which allows us to collect the rest.
Yes, but aside photographs, the other things you have to collect in 100% are all the non-consumable items, so heart pieces, power-ups, dungeon power-ups, and yes, that includes the tunic in the color dungeon. They have to get one of the 2 tunics. However, the one that's kind of a bit of a head scratch for some is secret seashells. There are 26, but they only need to get 20 to get the level 2 sword, because once you get 20 and the sword, the game stops keeping track of them, so they are no longer necessary to collect.
But in fact, they actually turn into rupees. I believe either 20 or 50 rupees. So, even if you wanted to collect all 26, you would have a hard time of it.
Yeah.
So they've both just collected our best friend, Bow Wow, who is incredibly powerful in our squib categories because we keep him the entire time, and he can eat cutscenes. But unfortunately we don't keep him long enough in this one to get any real use, but he still gets us into D2.
Yep, he's the hungry friend. And wow, eating the same flower at about the same speed for both of them. This is getting kind of
sync.
ridiculous.
Even got menu sync here. Oh, Black, no.
For a moment there, I was about to say, are we accidentally sending the same feed to both screens? Because,
I think Xander actually is like just learned from Vlack's videos.
Interesting. They're keeping the bow on. Normally, you don't see the people use the bow this much because you have limited arrows until you get the arrow upgrade a little bit later. So you usually you only have a few extra arrows to spare. So they're going to be playing it pretty tightly with arrows.
No, as long as they don't mess anything up, they should be fine for their arrow count. But if they do mess anything up and waste extra arrows where they shouldn't, then they're going to be changing their strategies a bit.
Yeah.
So there was high Nox, Binox.
Yeah.
Hardly even a mini boss thanks to the arrows.
Yeah, and it also allows them to save several menus, because if you were using sword throughout the dungeon for several of these things, there's at least 2 extra menus involved.
Oh no. So we see Xander here, he's messed up a bit on this ghost skip. Normally you'd hit both the ghosts off the screen using 1 arrow, but he's wasted an extra one, and we'll see how that's reflected in his run later.
Now it's time for the room that was the bane of a lot of people's existence as a kid. You have to kill the enemies in this room in a very specific order to get the key. And that Stalfos really likes to just walk around where you don't want him to be. And if you do kill him out of sequence, you have to usually go down the stairs and come back up to reset the room. You can't just leave through the door.
Oh, I'm worried about Xander. He might actually die on the boss.
Yeah, because the quick kill boss strat does occasionally cause you to get hit by the boss, which will do 1 heart of damage.
Xander's doing the cool thing with bombs. So normally you'd have to pick up a pot and hold it to activate the moving platform, but you can actually just hold a bomb and it does the same thing. So shoutouts to Green Tunic for teaching us about that the other day in his run.
Speaking of pots, it's time to clown around on the boss here a little bit. You're supposed to throw it against the wall 3 times, but if you're clipped into the wall, the pot has nowhere to go, so it just explodes. And then phase 2, which normally just requires hitting it with a sword while it teleports around, turns out 2 bomb arrows just do the job just as easily and a lot more quickly. But that second bomb arrow is a bit risky for Xander, because like we said, touching the clown does that. Yeah, he's playing it safe, shooting downward and up instead of just against the wall. But he gets it. Just like that, both of them have the second instrument, and they're still staying...
Yeah, sorry.
No, they're just staying right on top of each other. This is staying really close.
I was gonna say, Xander asking a very important question in chat. What happens if I accidentally hit my fast forward bind? If that happens, we're gonna have to see.
I didn't even notice it, honestly. If you hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have noticed.
I don't think he did it, he's just asking in chat because he forgot to unbind it.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's one of those things where, usually in my experience, if you hit fast forward on like BizHawk, it's for a fraction of a second. So if it comes down to frames, then we can talk. But we'll see.
I say if he touches it, he's banned. Sayonara, Xander.
Sayonara, Xander the Hedgehog.
So, Flack picking up what's referred to as the heart piece of shame in Squoob because you can very easily grab it by accident when you don't want to, but we do in fact need it for this category.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's still considered the heart piece of shame if you grab it at the wrong time, because LADX is nothing if not willing to throw shame on people for doing the wrong thing.
Speaking of shame, they're both going to the Mad Batter here to get their bomb upgrade, but if they don't cancel through him asking for a powder upgrade first, they could accidentally end up with 40 powder and, like, what, 2 bombs? Which would normally be a reset.
Yeah. This is one of the few times where dialogue choices can actually kill your run.
We actually saw Dragon in his first race on the second upgrade shrine get powder instead of arrows, to which he said, oops. But he still managed to pull that run off somehow.
I think that's one of the things about this game. A lot of folks who, not everyone, but a lot of folks who run it play this game as a kid and played the heck out of it. So they have a surprising amount of game knowledge outside of the route, which serves you well in this category if things go wrong, because sometimes they just do, and you gotta roll with it.
Yeah, so right now they're just collecting a few seashells as they go around, and then they'll be getting one more picture and a seashell before they head to D3.
Yes.
Actually, no, that's not true. There's way more than that.
Well,
but they'll be grabbing a bunch more seashells and one picture.
Well, yeah, they'll be getting one picture and one seashell before they head to Villa Skip.
Right. So on this next screen, Black's gonna head into his phone booth on purpose because he's gonna basically save his location for when he save and quits. After a little bit of collecting, he's gonna save and quit just to go back there and prevent having to backtrack quite as much.
Yeah, as much as I really liked No Scoob as a category, being able to set save and quit points to optimize movement and just routing is something that I find really, really fun and interesting in this game.
Yeah, the one benefit of the no save and quit categories is you get to root out your bees of power. In this category, we only get it in one dungeon, whereas in no save and quit, we actually get it in 3 dungeons, I believe. No, 4.
Yeah, more recently 4, because there's been more and more folks routing it for D6. But here's the Seashell Mansion. Old routes used to only come here to get the bonus shells once. The current route does it twice. And this is the first of 3 times we'll be seeing the inside of this mansion.
Yep. During our what were they called? Showcase races. One of the weeks, Sagaz comes in and he says, "Guys, I have a new route, I'm gonna try it out." So he does this new route live during the stream, where he rerouted so much just so he could make sure we get that the 10 seashell present. So he gets a bunch of things, well, this is that route, but he gets a bunch of extra things during this segment, so that he's able to get that 10 seashell present right after D3.
And yeah, that ends up being the fastest route, so here we are. But speaking of usual routing things, what you just saw them do some shenanigans with a pit and transition. This is Villa Skip that I mentioned before, but it's unfortunately at the mercy of subframes and frame rules. You see Xander here having to pause buffer a bunch of times. You have to basically keep doing that until you hear the fall sound, and when you unpause, it pushes you a couple pixels down, which pushes you to the next screen, and then that happens.
Yeah, basically the game thinks you're transitioning onto a solid, which you are. And the way it normally treats that, such as when you're going down cliffs, is that you'll just keep falling until you reach a solid tile, or a open tile.
And the perk to that is that it lets you skip the entire Kennelet Castle side quest. And speaking of skipping, now it's time to skip on water, which means this appropriately called trick called Jesus jumping, which you can do on a screen transition as well, like you saw Vlack do there, which lets them get this seashell. Oh! Takes a swim, so he has to buffer a save and quit menu again, losing him a few seconds, but he's still just... Whoa, wait, whoa. Did he just do it without the save and quit menu there, or am I just imagining it?
I don't know, that's too fast for me.
Because, yeah, normally...
I think he just did a pause menu there.
Yeah, because maybe there's an alternate way depending on what... Kind of like when you buffer bomb triggers. Yeah, normally you have to do buffer a save and quit, like you'll probably see Xander do here in a moment, and then you have to wait a second for Link to respawn, just like this right here. But what Black did seemed a fair bit faster. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, I'm not sure about faster, but I mean, Vlack's done a lot of work on like timing things out, and I think he's actually tasked things in his experience. So if he's doing that, it's probably faster.
Yeah. But D3, like Spice Father mentioned, is the only time we'll be seeing Piece of Power, because it's also one of the dungeons with the highest concentration of enemies you can quickly kill early on. So you see them both murder a bunch of enemies along the way, because it makes this trick you see Black doing here, Dodongo Skip, a lot safer, and it makes the boss a lot faster.
Yeah, the Dong Skip it's pretty safe even without this. But the boss at the end is so much faster if you have Piece of Power.
Yeah.
So even though you could possibly save time in this dungeon through save... Actually, no, that's a lie. There's no way to save time saving quitting here. Having to get back to the end of the dungeon just takes way too long.
Yeah, but Piece of Power doesn't actually make the Dongo skip. Does make the Dongo skip a little bit easier. It's still pretty safe without it, but considering that the failure state is soft locking and having to save and quit, you still would rather have Piece of Power before you have to do the Dongo skip, because it's pretty tight timing when you have to get into position and jump real fast.
Yeah, when it was first found, it was very easy to soft lock, but thanks to everyone else like chipping in their strategies, we've come up with the way that we do it now, where we do a spin slash, and it is pretty consistent.
Yeah, and that's actually a relatively recent development, because I remember when I first learned this game not that long ago, Dongo skip was just about to come on the scene around the time I started.
I think I found that last February, so that's over a year old.
Yeah, I've started playing this game in early February.
And Vlack did the boss, who is named Slime Eye, not Vitreous, although he bears similarities.
My
Shout out
bad.
to Spearster. So we'll see Xander do it here. So you bonk to make him drop, and then you bonk again so you don't get stunned. You split him apart, then you do a final bonk off the wall, and he just drops on your sword.
Yeah, bonking into a wall is generally to be avoided, but the cool thing about it in this game is that it tends to launch you in the air just long enough to avoid being stunned by ground pounds, which is useful in a handful of spots, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of my favorite bosses, I think, because there are some bosses where it's just like, okay, I have to adapt to this, but this is the one boss in the game that, to me, feels like speed running.
Yeah, and pulling it off fast just looks and feels so cool. And now Vlack picking up one of the heart pieces that you probably missed as a kid, because there's really no indicator that you can bomb this wall.
And then he's going to do the first step in the trade sequence, which is to already have the stick because this game is good, and give it to Terran. And do a little save and quit to skip his cutscene and just grab the honeycomb.
Yeah, since you need the stick to get into Canelet Castle, the game assumes that if you beat in Dungeon 3, you have the stick. So just talking to Terran triggers it, not actually having the stick. So
Yeah, this game is really well programmed.
I'm not going to throw the programmers under the bus. I think it's one of those things where you made what are technically safe assumptions about what players had to do in order to save space on the ROM cartridge. So I'm not
They
gonna
obviously
throw them
didn't
under
know
the
about
bus.
Jesus jumps.
Yeah, obviously not.
Fools. So Vlack getting his second
Heathens.
present. So he has 10 seashells, now 11, and that allowed, well, the 10 allowed him. Oh, what was that swag?
Oh man,
So because he had 10 going in there, he was able to get his 11th. And Xander's gonna be doing the same in just a moment. That just looks so cool, and I hope Xander does it too.
Oh man. And speaking of trade sequence, you're gonna see them both immediately go turn in the honeycomb to get the pineapple, because it turns out pineapples actually cause Marins to spawn, just like in real life. So we need to talk to this bear and get the pineapple so that they can go back to a maybe village and go find Marin and spend some quality time on the beach.
Yeah, what actually happens is the bear's just like, oh, by the way, Marin likes to go to the beach.
Yeah.
So until he tells you that, you can't find her there. But having learned that useful information, Vlack is going to be heading to town, as Crunchy said. He's going to grab the ocarina, and then he's going to go on the date of his life.
It's true. It's such an important date that we actually waited to do certain things so that we could do them with Marin, because some of these things are best shared with someone you care about. By which I mean we need to get pit photos.
Yeah, so there are Sorry, go ahead.
Even Nintendo of 1995 understood the importance of selfie culture in dating.
Yeah, so there are 3 photographs that you can only get on your date with Marin. So we have one by the weather vane that Vlack's just passed, there's one on the beach, and then there's one if you fall down in the well with her. But first, the most important part, fish the pond.
Oh, yeah. Now, the important thing about the second one is you have to actually reel it in really close, but not too close, because otherwise you'll accidentally just reel it in completely. Yes, I am calling myself out for messing that up in a race, but the fact of the matter is it's surprisingly easy to do, so you just have to kind of know the distance and get it there quickly and not go too far.
Yeah, it's really easy to screw up.
Yeah, thankfully messing it up one time is not too bad if you're using the Dungeon Zero rupee farming later, because there's rupees to spare, but you don't want to be losing too many extra rupees because you need to have 300 for something very important later, and if you get too low below 50, you're going to have a hard time.
And one interesting thing to point out here is that this big fish they're getting has a heart piece in its belly, and on collecting it, they're actually filling up a heart container. But because they do it during this fishing, they don't actually have to endure the cutscene of, hey, you got this heart piece container. So it's actually like a very sneaky and very cool time save.
Oh yeah, I love little sneaky time saves like that. Just combining cutscenes and text boxes to eliminate other text boxes is just top-notch stuff. This speedrun really has it all, and that's one of the things that drew me to it in the first place.
So Vlad grabbing another seashell that people probably didn't find when they were kids, because who's going to go back here and bonk a random tree?
I did, and I still don't remember why I did. I think I was literally playing, just wandering around with a manual with me, and it said, make sure to check trees. I'm like, really? That happened to be the closest tree to me at the time, and I was like, oh! That's what's important. Let's see if Vlack does any of the fancy tricks here right before talking to Marin. No, just talk to Marin.
No. He didn't do it. It's gonna disappoint the memesters.
Speaking of memesters, can we talk about the birds?
These birds are RNG, their movement is unpredictable, it can completely ruin your run if they move in the wrong way.
You could play this game every single day until the day you die and never get the same pattern twice. That's how random they are, and it's like the butterfly effect, except for Colon Island. It's kind of wacky.
So we'll see if Xander does the grab. Oh, he's not even trying. Embarrassing for both of them.
Ocean bounce. I don't know. I don't know what term for that one is.
So Vlack has collected his temporary waifu. He's gonna go on a short little date with her where he falls down a hole.
Excuse you, I think you pronounced... No, go ahead,
No, go ahead, I'm curious where that was going.
I'm sorry, I believe you mispronounced forever waifu. Alright, now continue.
Oh, very temporary waifu. So there's one photograph and one heart piece with her. And then he's going down to the beach for his second photograph with her. And Link's face just looks weird.
I blame the angle of the shot.
I blame the people who did DX.
That's fair.
So yeah, we haven't really touched on it, but if you played only the original LA Link's Awakening, not only did it not have color, but also didn't have these pictures. So if you're wondering what happened, DX happened.
Yeah, actually growing up, I only had the original Link's Awakening. I did not have DX. So I actually only started playing DX relatively recently when I started speedrunning it.
I had DX, but it's one of the poor kids who couldn't get a Game Boy printer, so I didn't get the full experience. Unfortunate.
I don't think having a Game Boy printer was so much a matter of being a rich kid, and more so a matter of, I don't know where I was going with that, but the fact of the matter is, I don't know anyone who had a Game Boy printer.
And shoutouts to Final Flame, because he thinks that having a Game Boy printer and printing off every photo should be a part of 100%.
And you know what? I agree with him only because I think it would be hilarious to have some sort of side rule set about what are and are not legal hardware modifications to your printer to make them print faster.
So anyway, they're coming up on the walrus, well, Vlack is, where he will be ending, oh, not quite yet I guess, but he'll be ending his date shortly. But first he's going into this cave for another heart piece.
Interesting, because I always thought that bomb triggering on the left-hand wall was unquestionably faster, but that's not what Vlack is doing. I figured he would have been using all the fast strats.
some people prefer to go this way just because of their menus.
I suppose so.
But we didn't really touch on it before Vlack did it, but in that cave, you're normally supposed to have hookshot. You'd go up and around the back and use a bomb to get rid of the one breakable block, then use your hookshot to go across. But we can just bomb trigger heart pieces, and so much quicker.
Yeah, who would have thought? Picking up a heart piece counts as an event, so bomb triggers work on them.
And they actually have pretty perfect sync on Walrus here.
I can't believe the Walrus died twice. And so on one screen we get to see Marin go off screen really fast, and the other one we get to see her go climb some trees. I mean, she climbs trees, she runs at the same speed of the Pegasus shoes wearing sandals. Is there anything this girl cannot do?
Enter dungeons.
I mean...
if you try to enter a dungeon with her, she'll actually sit outside. And then when you return, she'll be like, "Oh, you're back, thank you."
I did not know there was actually dialogue for that.
I don't know the exact dialogue, but I learned that happened while I was messing around with some like debugger stuff. So we didn't really talk about it, but Vlack didn't even fight anything there because there's nothing in that one room. We're gonna see Xander very shortly fight nothing, but still get a key out of it.
Yeah, the thing is, this is basically a room that wants to be impressed, and when you come in firing 2 arrows without even saying hello, it's just like, whoa, dude, chill out, here, have this key.
So, fun little trivia, but if you get pulled into a pit, but the key actually touches the pit before you, it will fall down the pit and you won't grab it. So that can kinda mess you up if it happens.
Yeah, thankfully we have a pretty good feel for where it spawns, and there's I want to say 2 different spots you'll usually see folks stand to be able to pick it up as soon as it spawns, so that's not... I don't think we've seen that be a problem yet.
Vlack getting second best song from our ex-waifu. Oh yeah, as Phantom Map points out, you can actually duplicate the key, I believe, with bomb triggers.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, if it falls down there, you can go down and bomb trigger it. And then, right, if you leave the room and come back, I think it'll still be on the ground.
Alright, it's time to learn some music.
So Xander's mentioning in chat, hope I didn't forget anything. I'm not gonna say like whether or not I think he has, but if he has, it'll be pretty interesting.
Oh, that's right. I have to stop talking about what people pick up or don't pick up, because they sometimes listen.
We don't have to, but I'm going to, because if he's listening, I don't want to.
No, you're right.
The course of the race.
No, you know, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement, especially after the last time I did a race that he was in. I'm pretty sure I told him, like, accidentally mentioned 2 things he missed.
Yeah, there have been some people in this tournament who have missed things, and it's always interesting to see the way they try to recover.
Yeah.
Like, improv is always so fun to watch. That's why Dragon's runs are the best.
Well, can you really call it improv if he doesn't actually have a route?
Okay, he told us. He watched the entire first half of Seisei's run.
The first half?
Although that was before his first race. I think he finished the video before the second one.
Okay, and Vlack doing the most important trick of the run right there.
Obstacle skip is a trick where you're able to jump over one of those green blocks, and it saves like half a second, but if you fail, you lose 2 seconds. So there are some people who don't even bother because they don't think it's worth it, but if you don't do it, you're not a real runner.
Yeah, there's some people who don't bother to do it because whatever reason. Those people aren't allowed to talk in Discord.
Yeah, we have a special role for people like P-Dog. Actually, I think P-Dog does do obstacle skip.
Alright, so Xander doing his obstacle skip and Vlack getting the all-important butt sword.
The glowing butt sword.
You know, I have to wonder about something. So, if you can... Much in the same way you can do butt sword, if you were to use come back after D8 and do that with a fire rod, what would we call it then?
I've tried it out, and I don't think we'd call it anything, because the sprite for the fire rod, or the magic rod rather, it's actually like separated from Link's body.
Oh.
Because you can, the sword you can just hold it out and charge it, but the magic rod you can't do that.
Oh.
So it's sort of like the floating butt wang.
Okay. Because I'm trying to find next generation memes for if I have a run that goes badly in the race, and I'm just failing. All the ideas I have been apparently tried and don't work.
Although I think if you do it facing left, it's frame perfect, but if you do that, I think it like does a front wang.
Ooh. All right, but meanwhile, everyone's in D4, and we're just not talking about it. It's fine. So, you might remember No Scoob, we split this dungeon in half, but we can't do it here because we actually need to take the ghost and make friends with him to have a photo. So you're going to see them use a Jesus jump in order to get the flippers from the other side, and the rest of the dungeon is pretty much the same as in every other category. Just say, get the boss key way early, and then there is no actual boss because we're going dynamite fishing.
Well, there's a boss if you're Gravone. Very, very tricky one.
Oh no, Black!
No, he's good. Oh.
Oh!
I thought he was low enough. Yeah, that super jump that he does there, you do a super jump from the bottom, and you tink against that P-hat to go to the left, then you do another super jump from the left to go on the platform where the boss key is, but it's a very tricky jump to get.
Yeah, I think most folks still tend to do it the way you saw Vlack do for the backup, which is takes a little bit longer because you have to use an extra menu and move the pots, but it's a lot easier to set it up. Dark Cuckoo, there is in fact an official rule. If the fisherman picture is lost, you just lose. If you miss anything, it's just GG.
Yep, if you don't get a picture, then it's not 100%.
And if it's one of the ones you can't go back and get, then that's just that.
Yep. It's unfortunate, but everybody knows the risks.
Yeah, and there's really no reasonable way to add a time penalty for certain things. So just
yeah, and just to comment, that's the jump that they've done going to the boss door. That's not a glitch. They're just jumping diagonally, and the designers had no idea that you could do that jump. And it is like the freest thing in the game. It skips like half the dungeon.
Yeah. Now, Dungeon 4 is one of the shortest dungeons, but not because the dungeon itself is short, just because it's just been so very broken. Meanwhile, Vlack is enjoying some music here.
Yeah, I think after Xander gets that song, I'm going to switch audio over to Vlack since he's in the lead.
I think we should do it before Xander gets the song.
No, we have to hear the song. It's the best one. And to answer chat, we are pretty sure nobody's missed anything, but someone was just asking, in theory, if somebody misses it. Although if somebody misses any item and they are able to go back for it, even after they've finished the run, they're free to do so. But if they don't, then it will be a forfeit.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, if you miss something, you can always go back and get it. We've seen plenty of folks go back before the end of their run to find something they missed. That's totally fine. Just, there are some things that you can't go back and get.
Oh.
Oh.
Alright, let's see. Let's have Vlack's audio then.
Well, I will say, I'm still think there needs to be a category where 100% includes getting all 8 compasses.
There is a meme category we have, which is, I believe, called All Permanent Flags, which basically means if there's anything you can do in the game where the result of it is stored, then you have to do that. Which includes, like, if there's an NPC who you have dialogue you could go through, you have to go through all of the dialogues for as long as they'd be actually recorded.
Wow.
I think the only thing you don't have to do is that there is one chest in the game that's actually not accessible. The room it's in was, for whatever reason, they decided not to include it, so you can't get there.
Huh. But meanwhile, we saw some all sorts of things going on there. the ghosts, they now have the ghost friend, but you saw them use a bomb trigger, because it turns out the piers of this... Yeah, this wooden bridge is actually a stone bridge, surprise. And its piers are pits. So dropping bombs in the pits quickly, bomb trigger, and that allows the fisherman to pull a bikini top out of the bridge. Because that's how fishing works.
I think it's just a necklace, though. Because I'm from North America, and we're prudes.
I mean... Yeah.
That looks like a necklace to me, with a couple of gemstones on it. Prove me wrong.
I'm not doing it. I'm not getting involved in this conversation.
So Black right now doing a trick we call Zora Bump. And in fact it's not even correct because he's not going to bump a Zora, but he uses the fireball to get on the sledge in his wall clip. And then he can super jump across there without needing the hook shot.
Wow, I actually didn't realize there was a setup for when the Zora's on the bottom. I'll have to learn that one.
That one is 2 or 3 days old.
Well,
very new.
I guess need to learn that nonetheless.
That one's actually, I'd say, the easiest one to do. It's, you do 5 map buffers while holding left here, and then after you release, you hold right and sword and shield, and it just works.
Dang, yeah, I'll probably have to nag someone in Discord about that later. Yeah, there's one setup for there's one setup for each of the 3 Zora positions, and they're different levels of difficulty and speed. But the important thing is getting it on the first try if possible, because having to wait for the Zora to pop out somewhere else or have to leave the screen if you accidentally kill the Zora just really adds on to your time there.
Vlad just got a picture, which is... It's one picture where if you mash through the screen where it shows you the picture, you can actually skip it. You'll skip the cutscene and you will not get the picture. And I don't think you can even go back to get it. So that's like an instant run over.
That's a little bit frightening.
Yeah, but most of our high-tier runners, like Vlack and Xander, they are fully aware of that, and they are entirely hands-off buttons during that. So, as part of our ghost side quest, we take him back to his house because he's feeling nostalgic about it, and he just wants to go home. So he looks around, everything's the same as he left it, so he just wants to go back to his grave now. He's done.
But first, we're going to take him on a bit of a tour here, and go get the most powerful weapon in the game.
The shovel. Oh wait, no. No, Vlack, what are you doing? Don't do this to me. No. No, he... Oh. How is he gonna do swag now?
I mean... I guess he isn't.
Oh, it's gonna be a boring run then. So, the item that he's just received is the boomerang, which is an incredibly powerful weapon, not only just because it can do a lot of damage to enemies, but you can destroy bushes, and you can also get a one-hit kill on the final boss.
Yeah, surprisingly, it's less of a stun item in this game and more of a just galactic destruction item. It kills enemies that other things can't kill, and it also causes bushes to explode. How many items can you think of in a Zelda game that cause bushes to explode?
Most bombs.
Yeah, but that... I don't count that because the bombs also explode.
There's also an excellent synergy where if you have the flying rooster, if you throw the boomerang and then pick up the rooster, you can just fly around on the rooster while having the boomerang hovering beneath you, and you can just plow through everything. And it's the most amazing thing ever.
Oh, that's magnificent. I love stuff like that.
So, Black here, we've sort of talked over it, but he's getting his arrow upgrade, so he now has 60 arrows. And then he's going to use Mambo's Mambo to head back to the pond. And, where is he? Oh, he's going to the Ghost Grave.
Yes. Where
he'll get another photograph.
Yep, and then after that, since you're already in the graveyard, might as well go to Color Dungeon. Or D0 if you're a cool kid.
And I guess this is as good a time as any to explain Ocarina menuing and why it's the worst thing ever. So we'll start first with Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Your seed satchel, if you hover over in the menu, you can just go right past it like normal. But if you press a button on it, it'll bring up the menu, and then you can put it onto one of your buttons with one of the seeds. In this game, if you hover over it, the menu opens no matter what. And it is such a pain to menu out of it because it's like half a second or so of waiting for the menu to open before you can actually move.
And so basically, let's say you want to get to the item that's directly to the left of the ocarina, and you're under the ocarina. If you go up, try to go up left instead of left up, you can't. You just can't. You're stuck on the ocarina, staring longingly at the item you want. But you cannot get it. You have to move up or down and then all the way back around. Or up and down and all around if you want to think of it differently.
I do want to think of it that way.
Sounds good to me.
So, as mentioned, in DX we added color, and what better to go along with color than the color dungeon. Boom. So these guys ask you what color they are, and we can't read Japanese, but we just know which one to choose. But keep it a secret.
Oh, fun fact, they're actually, the two choices are Aka and Ao, which mean red and blue. But they never change, so you can absolutely just fudge it. And speaking of fun things fudging, these rupees here. This is the rupee farming they need to do for the 300 rupees you mentioned earlier. But you may notice they don't have 300 rupees. But as it turns out, for some reason, that room is actually stored in the Game Boy's ROM rather than, you know, in cartridge save data. So hard resetting the console will make that room refill. So when they save and quit here in a little bit, you're going to see them both hard reset to refill that room so they can get 300.
That's actually pretty neat, because if you switch to a different file, the rupees will be gone for that file as well. But only resetting the console actually brings them back.
Which is a curious choice, but that's just how it works.
Yeah, it was just lazy developing for the color dungeon. It was sort of just hacked onto the base game. So the giant buzz blob, I believe it's called, you can just stun in place by just mashing powder over it. And fun fact, if you had the mushroom here, you could just use that once and kill it instantly.
What, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah,
so Black just did his reset in order to get his rupees back.
And now that they have, both of them have the upgraded bow capacity, they can play up pretty fast and loose with arrows, because there's really nothing you need to have a lot of arrows for later on, so...
Yeah, I see Black was just saying that, so it's just because he can. He'll probably have like 20 to 30 remaining at the end of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, Xander also making short work of the blob, and opting to stop and grab the fairy, which is not a bad idea. His health was definitely on the low side there. And you don't get a heart at the end of this dungeon, so no free health refill at the end.
Oh, this is an interesting menu from Black. What is he doing?
He's giving up on bingo, I guess. He's using the boomerang?
Oh, goodness.
I've never seen that done before.
That is so much more controllable than using sword.
Oh, yeah, it really is. Because the sword, if they're against the wall, you can't use the sword, but you can use the boomerang. That's really useful.
Yeah, Black he finds so many cool strats. And then everyone steals them because they watch him, and...
They steal them because they're good strats!
Yeah, but he doesn't get to keep them to himself. So he's probably going to choose the red tunic here. I'm assuming they both will for this run.
I suppose we shall see. And there it is. Ooh, Xander not having as good of a bingo room. We call it the bingo room because there's a lot of randomness, and it's frankly a crapshoot whether or not you're going to have a good room or not. By which I mean no one actually has a good room. If someone tells you, man, I had a good bingo room in my run, they're lying, because no one has good bingo rooms.
Yeah, I think Xander put it as, you have either bad or really bad.
That's not a bad way of putting it.
So, Black heading for his third and final Ocarina song, picking up a seashell along the way. And he also has to do this really annoying signpost maze where you have to read these signs in the correct order without double reading or reading the wrong one along the way. Oh, getting beaten up by this bush.
And Phantom Man, I most certainly did not. That was a terrible bingo room. Yeah, the thing about this is, a lot of times your inclination is just to mash the button to try to get out of the text box as quickly as possible, but it's surprisingly easy to accidentally read the sign twice, which resets the entire soundpost maze. Soundpost? I'm really good at words, okay?
Don't worry about it. I'm sure I'll slip up at some point and then you'll get to laugh at me. So Black is now at the end of Signpost Maze, and he gets to listen to the worst song in the whole wide world. If you are photosensitive, please look away for a minute.
Yes, by all means look away for photosensitive, but I do believe that Spice has mispronounced best song.
Oh, I think this is actually the worst song I have ever heard, because not only is there no tone, but there's no, like, rhythm or anything. It's just the worst.
Sure there is. I could totally set up a metronome and it would have a beat and everything.
Yeah, the metronome would.
So would the song. I mean, I don't know about... This song fills you with soul, man. I mean, if you don't get it, then I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, this thing fills me with dread.
Frog's Song of Dread. You heard it here first.
I wonder what that thing's magical power would be. Just kills whoever plays it.
It doesn't kill who listens to it, it kills whoever plays it.
Luckily, we never played in our run, so we're safe.
God, that's like some sort of like wacky martial arts film. Like, it's like, I will now teach you the song of the dojo. It's a session technique. When I teach it to you, I will die, and you must carry on the school of the frog song.
Vlack heading to the most thrilling hard piece in the game, or like the carpal tunnel part of the game, where you just mash A as fast as you can, and yeah. He's also mashing B because he's having fun, I guess.
I guess so. This is essentially the Prima heart piece. It's designed to sell you a Prima guide on finding it, because there's absolutely nothing, no dialogue, no visual indicator that it's there.
Xander doing a double check there on that tree, just to make sure he had gotten the seashell.
Well, to be fair, it's probably faster than opening and closing the menus, so it's not a bad way of doing it.
So, if you enter this house while you're in the air, Link will kind of just roll, because the game forgets to reset you to your, like, on-the-ground sprite.
Shadow Ocarina of Time.
So that's the final photograph of the game, so at this point well, Vlack should have 12 and Xander should be at 11. So, no more photographs for them.
But they're on their way also to the last seashell, actually. They're heading to Armos Maze to get the key to Dungeon 6. And, yep, 19 shells, so Vlack will get the 20th in Armos Maze, although he also needs to be careful. A lot of things in Armos Maze do 2 hearts of damage, so he needs to be mindful of those Armos statues.
I think he should have taken the blue tunic. That's the only safe way to go through here.
Obviously. Because, I mean, saving frames on picking up things is fine and all, but dying because you took too much damage loses you way more time. And,
oh, my stream is frozen.
So's mine.
So we're gonna pretend we're commentating on what's happening. Xander's getting a picture, and Vlack has a seashell.
Yep, and now he's going to be maneuvering back the way he came, across to the left. You're going to see him do a couple of wall clips to get around the Armo statues so he doesn't have to activate them. Ooh, that's really slick. Look at him go.
Oh, wow. A+.
Yeah. Now, you may have... Now he's getting ready to fight the Armos Knight. You see this guy. This guy, he's pretty nasty. He touches you, just twits or damage, he stuns you when he jumps. But thankfully, having the red tunic does make him a bit of a joke. Don't have to even do boot strats or anything. And, oh, wow, look at that. He just went down like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, with the red tunic, you can just spam him against a wall, and he won't even land to stun you. It's such a free fight.
Yeah.
Now Black's gonna be heading back through the maze the way he came, but he's gonna have to be careful because I don't know how many hearts he has now, but if he takes too much damage, he's gonna die and head right back to that shrine.
Yeah, thankfully it's not a super costly death, but still one you want to avoid, because even having to go back a couple of screens when the race is as close as it is something you want to avoid, because Xander's still right on his heels. And here we are, Xander now entering the Armless Maze as well, on his way to get his 20th seashell.
Alright, so if you refresh the page, Xander is actually on the Armless Knight right now. And
wow.
Vlack is about to die.
Please don't die, Black.
Oh, okay, good. He used his boomerang and saved himself.
Yeah, boomerang is incredibly useful. You can also use arrows there, but why when you have a boomerang?
Yeah. Boomerang's basically a free arrow. So as we can actually see now, Xander's... Actually, he did a good job. He didn't get stunned by the Armorous Knight. And I can see that he does have his 20 seashells, so he's good to go on his level 2 sword. And this next room coming up, Black is going to save us from the beeping by grabbing a free fairy.
Yep. The boomerang wears many hats, including magic powder.
Yep, it's able to kill those... what are those called? They're sparks. Kills them in one hit, and they always drop a fairy.
Oh, Xander actually using a wall clip to get around an Armo statue. I didn't know you could actually do that for that particular one. I'll have to remember that. But... Well, no. He just gets rid of he just kills the spark.
No, anti-fairies are the ones that fly diagonally around the room, aren't they? That one's just a spark.
Oh, okay.
To answer the guy in chat. Erunian. Yeah, so Black doing this room, which isn't as cool in this category because we don't have the hook shot. In other categories, you could actually gain invincibility by hookshotting a pot from directly next to it. So you can just stand there and you won't get hit by any of the flying tiles. A very clean Wizrobe room.
Yeah, are we gonna remark on the fact that he just used arrows to break the tiles just because?
Yeah, yes. Enough.
Yeah, but still, just kind of like... You still want to see folks use sword of anything there, but you're just kind of like, nah, I'm just going to... I have a wealth of arrows. I'm just going to just redistribute them to the tile proletariat here.
So Black doing a very cool super jump where you basically just use your boots to jump into a wall, and you just... I think you just hold jump, sword, and right, and you can just super jump without clipping.
I have never seen them. I think my jaw was open for a good 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's like a Vlack specialty. It's his thing. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else even bother with it.
4. 5th try of horse heads. I mean, that's alright, but you could probably afford to practice a bit more before next race.
Yeah, unfortunately not quite as good on the skill heads as he could have been. So each of the horse heads has a 50-50 chance of landing upright, and you need them both to land upright. So mathematically, it's a 1 in 4 chance. So on average, you get 4 tries to do it. But 5 is not quite good.
Alright, it's time for one of the other LADX party tricks, which is boss hitboxes that appear before the bosses appear. This is Facade, or basically to say Dungeon 6 has had enough of our nonsense and is just taking matters into its own hands, or its own face as the case will be. And that was Facade.
Yeah, for anyone who saw Mighty Mouth's run at GDQ of Oracle of Seasons, that game also has a Facade who they don't even spawn. But luckily the two games are very similar insofar as you can bomb him before he shows up on the screen. And like with his swag bomb.
Yeah. And someone remarking that Facade easiest boss in history. Facade is pretty simple, but I would debate that Anglerfish is an easier boss.
If anyone thinks that Facade is too easy, I highly recommend trying out Corvone's ROM hack. It'll make you reevaluate the entire game.
That game made me reevaluate
whether or not you want to live.
Yeah, that ROM hack made me reevaluate my will to live. I think there's a great video of me being excited about doing a complicated jump, then falling into a pile of leaves and dying and just cursing angrily at Cravone.
Oh goodness. I don't know if I counted that right because it's hard without audio, but I think Xander just got 13th try horse heads.
Xander, you haven't been practicing.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in trying the ROM hack, it's available on speedrun.com/LADX. I highly recommend it. It's fun for everybody, especially the viewers.
Yeah. Actually, more like entirely the viewers.
Yeah. So Vlack, finally getting the fruits of his labors, getting the level 2 sword.
He's been thunderstruck!
So he has level 2 swords, so he now does more damage, and he has lasers and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
No, yeah, level 2 sword is exceedingly good in this game. It does double the damage of level 1 sword, if I'm not mistaken. Which unfortunately does not actually help you against this the boss of Dungeon 5, but is really useful in a lot of other spots, so...
Yeah, there's some enemies who count your damage by hits instead of actual damage, but most enemies we can benefit from the increased damage. But coming up is... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yours is more relevant.
So coming up is a trick that is relatively recent to the run called early hookshot. Basically, the game is stupid and it thinks that if a item has dropped from the ceiling and it's on the screen, then it must be whatever that room decides it is. So in this room, the decision is that it's a key. But if you use your boomerang to pull it through to the next room, it has to be a hookshot, because that's the item of that room. So we're going to use that, and he's failed once, but he can keep trying as many times as he wants. And he's going to pull it through, and it's going to give him the hookshot without actually... Oh.
Well, okay. From what I understand, his setup looks perfect, but it's even if you get the perfect setup, it's a 50-50 chance whether or not it'll actually work because of, you know, frame rules. So... he just has to keep doing it correctly, which he is doing, until it works, and he's just having really bad luck here. Yep.
There is a small chance, and we're pretty sure that it won't happen as long as there are no other pickups on the screen, but you can actually grab the key accidentally, and if you do that, then your run may as well be over.
Yeah, because at that point you have to do Dungeon 6 normally, and...
And luckily, we're not hearing the sound, so we know he's not picking it up, but this is taking... way too long, and I'm sure he's getting pretty triggered. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
And that's... Is he doing something wrong? Because that looks like it's...
No, it looks perfect. It looks... He's doing the correct... He's on the correct pixel. He's doing the correct setup with the boomerang and the feather. There we go!
There it goes.
There we go.
That was, what, 6th try?
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Each try costs 15 seconds. Even with... The thing is, even with that many tries, it's still faster than doing the dungeon normally, but that's just... a really unfortunate time loss for Black.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even with that, he is still ahead, but it does give Xander a lot more room to catch up. So if he gets a quick early hookshot, then the race will be even tighter.
Yeah. Another interesting note, though, something I didn't know until, like, yesterday, is that Black has managed to maintain full health. You're normally supposed to use bombs on this guy, but having sword beams lets you hurt him like a bomb would. So level 2 sword actually makes fighting him faster as well, because you save menus. I actually did not know that until yesterday, so that was a pretty cool thing to discover.
Black says, cool trick. I'm sure he's referring to what's coming up, because we haven't quite caught up to his stream yet.
I mean... I don't think he's doing dumb jump, he's just hookshotting the intended way.
Yep. In other categories where you don't do early hookshot, you have to do a fairly tricky jump using boots and feather to cross that gap without the hookshot, and even for experienced runners it can be very tough to do.
Yeah. There's a reason we call it dumb jump, because it is very difficult jump. And Xander getting first try early hookshot, so he's definitely gained back over a minute there.
So, Vlad is coming up on the final boss of this dungeon, the Slime Eel, which is slightly more of a pain in this category because you have the extra knockback from the red tunic.
Yeah, because it knocks back enemies, but it also gives them more invincibility frames, and since this boss is number of hits rather than damage, it's very difficult to get 4 hits in a cycle, so 2 cycle, which is easy normally, is actually pretty challenging.
So there is a fairly consistent 2 cycle strat, which we can do in our no sim quick categories, but he almost got it. It is very tough to get it in this category, at least if you take the red tunic.
And the added danger is if you get 7 hits, then you also have a chance of getting fake snakes pulling them out of the wall, and I don't think there's any limit to how many you can get, so you can technically just keep pulling out fake snakes. But thankfully, Vlack just gets no fakes and is on his way.
And Phantom Matt asking that question, we're all wondering, why not dump all the powder and quick kill Blob? Because it would take way too long to get the mushroom.
Alright, now Xander facing off against Slime Eel / Wall Snake, depending on how you roll. I think he's done 6 hits to it so far, I think?
Yep.
Yep.
So, pretty much perfect 3 cycle fight. And Black going for a little bit of swag here, too.
Ooh.
If you do that little boot bonk, you can cross that tile there. And it's a little bit faster than going the right way around. But it is slightly tricky because you can fall into the pit.
With that, both of them are heading up to D7 and D8. We're in the final stretch here.
And they're coming up on what is probably one of the hardest tricks in the game if you do it unbuffered. It's known as Rooster Skip, and we have plenty of time to explain it before we get there. Why don't you have a stab at that?
Alright, basically, the hookshot is a spectacular item. It's also, but among other things, you may notice, if you jump onto a pit and fire it, the game is not actually checking if you're standing on solid ground. And when it retracts, you have 1 frame where the game still thinks you're on solid ground, and you can use it to jump with the feather. And oh, Josh, it froze again. It gives us more time, I think. So, basically, there's this really long serpentine room with a gigantic pit that drops you outside. If you fire the hookshot and jump on the same frame it retracts, you can do extra jumps on this gigantic pit. And you have to do it twice to get around this wall in that room. Some folks will do it buffered, but I know Vlack does it unbuffered. I don't know if Xander does, but it's extremely challenging because it is a frame-perfect trick. And
actually, the comment, just to cut in here, you said that they do it twice, but Vlack, the way he does it, he's actually going to do it 3 times.
Oh, that's right, because he doesn't do a long jump to begin with. Oh my god!
Oh my god, he's what an animal!
My god! He makes it look so effortless. Don't be fooled. That is an extremely difficult trick.
No, like I have practiced that a lot, and I can do it fairly well in practice. But you put me in a run, and I'm gonna mess it up. But Vlack just, what a guy.
Yeah, most folks will do it buffered because with buffering, there's a very consistent setup, but even then, it's not 100% guaranteed, and it's even less.
Shoutouts to you last year.
What?
I think it was you last year. You showed us every way that could fail.
Yeah, there are 3 ways. In No Squoob, there are 3 ways it can fail that are beyond your control, and I got them all in a single race run. But thankfully, in 100%, there's only 1 that can backfire on you, and I think we've seen it. I think we've seen it happen earlier in this tournament, but I don't think anyone. But okay, Xander trying to make it a little bit easier on himself by. Yeah, Vlack just does the hookshot into the wall, which lets him do more attempts to jump faster, but it's a bit more mash intensive. Xander playing it safe, which is fair.
Nice,
you really don't
nice frame perfect buffer there.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason why buffering is not actually that much slower is because anywhere in this cave you fall down a pit, you get knocked back out into the river like this, and getting back up and around takes 30 to 40 seconds, so that's a huge time loss to take a fall. Better to buffer.
If for some reason you save and quit while you're in that cave, then you can just reset your game instead, and that is faster to get back, but you still don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
But Vlack coming up on well, he's in D7, he's coming up on this excellent pillar puzzle, and he's not even going to use the, what is it called, a ball?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he technically is. Bombs are in the shape of balls, I mean...
Goodness. His stream is freezing up a little bit. But he's using bomb triggers to knock down these pillars without actually having to carry the ball around. It saves a decent amount of time over the normal route.
Yeah, a lot.
It's cool as hell.
Because I don't know about you, but playing this game casually, D7 was one of the longest dungeons to me, trying to figure out the ball puzzle, and just, you can beat this, even taking safety strats and buffering every single bomb trigger, you can beat this dungeon in 5 minutes easy, or less.
Yeah. Yeah, when I started learning this game, I believe the bomb trigger route was fairly new, and the video I learned off of by Zorlax, it had the old route with the ball, so I was learning that, then like partway through the video, it pops up with like the annotation, it's like, oh, there's a new route, you should do that instead, and I'm like, oh, I wish that had been earlier.
Oh! The second Goomba coming through in the 11th hour for Vlack.
So, a trick called Goomba Surf, where we basically do a super jump onto a Goomba's head, and I think someone suggested calling it Mario strats, but you basically just are able to get up to that ledge by using that Goomba. Black's gonna do a very neat off-screen kill on the eagle here. So you can hear it taking damage, but you cannot see it. And it's gone.
Yep, because like in a lot of other cases, things wrap around the edges of the screen, and that includes boss hitboxes.
Yep. Interestingly, we can't do that strategy in our no save and quit categories, because for whatever reason, it only actually works if you have done at least one save and quit in your run.
Really?
Yep. But we have pretty cool quick kills in the other categories, so it's not too much of a hindrance.
Oh yeah, the quick kill in No Scoop is still pretty cool. Well, that Vlack is on his way up. I'll be interested to see if Xander's probably gonna try his Goomba Surf as well. But the thing about Goomba Surf is actually another strat, which is a lot more consistent, but definitely slower. But only if you get Goomba Surf in the first couple of tries.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Fantastic RNG.
Even faster than Vlack. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I know that I know myself. I do this, and at least a couple other folks do it, where they'll try Goomba Surf maybe once, but if the Goomba does not get into position, they just go do a P-hat jump.
Then there's another really cool strategy if you want to be a straight-up baller, where you actually fight the mini-boss of the dungeon for the key. That loses quite a lot of time, but it's definitely worth the meme points.
Yeah, because otherwise, him talking about how he wants revenge on you for whatever the heck it is you did makes a lot less sense.
He's like, you knocked out my brothers. Because you can't say kill in a kid's game.
Yep, I knocked them out. I knocked them out so hard they exploded into feathers.
So Black coming up Cabbage Hill here, and he's going to be grabbing his third and final resource upgrade for his magic powder. Finally he's going to have the 40 magic powder that everyone deserves.
I can't wait till we just throw all this powder into the face of... I don't even know.
Marin.
That's just mean! Why would you do that?
Because she doesn't do anything for us, she just gets stuck on a bridge.
She gives us the photos we need to finish this category. We couldn't do it without her.
If those photos didn't exist, we wouldn't need to get them. It's all her fault. Blame Marin.
I will do no such thing.
So,
I can't believe you.
In a casual playthrough, you need the level 2 shield to get through here. And even though we actually have it, we can just wall clip and use the boots to get through.
Yeah, that one is definitely, you gotta be careful with that one though, because you take one hit for sure, and that thing does 3 hearts of damage, and it's very easy to take 2. So you've been playing kind of carelessly, and your health is low, you can very easily die to that flamethrower.
So, Dungeon 8, Turtle Rock. As we mentioned early on, there are fantastic shortcuts if you know about bomb arrows and you know where to put them. So we're going to be using one right here, where we skip, like, what, half the dungeon?
At least. This is probably the largest dungeon in terms of rooms, and casually it's one of the longest, most difficult dungeons. But if you know where the bombable walls are and just know how to do things like lava swimming, this dungeon is hilariously short.
Yep. And there, vlackSR stuttered through it, but it's a relatively addition to our route, where you're able to use the hook shot to basically clip through the key block there. So it skips even having to grab a small key to get in there.
And that was Blano. Little boxing friend shows up in the Oracle games, and Blano's party trick, in theory, is that he can uppercut you back to the entrance of the dungeon, but you never actually see that because level 2 sword lol.
Bring back Blano skip.
Interestingly enough, I don't think we actually mentioned this, but no woob stands for no wrong warp out of bounds, and out of bounds means you can't be more than 1 tile away from a tile you can stand on, which means Blano skip, which used to be legal in Link's Awakening DX, no longer is.
That's unfortunate. There was a period of time before I started this game where the out of bounds rules had pretty much just been created, and even though people knew about them, they didn't really realize that Blano skip was out of bounds. There were some runs that went through that did include that trick.
And with that, we also saw on black screen, he picked up the final heart tank, completing the second to last heart. The last one waits when he beats Hothead.
And here we have Cue Ball, who is such a joke in this category. In the other categories, you need to spin slash him 4 times, which is still pretty easy if you've practiced, but in this category you only need it 2 times, and it's very, very easy.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Black over here cleaning up his act in the Roomba room.
Well, I think the Roomba's just doing his own thing. Black has no part of that.
Yeah, that room is kind of cool, just because there's so many different ways you can actually both move the Roomba and also jump while it's moving to get close to where the chest is, so you will see so many different ways of doing that room throughout this tournament. It's kind of great.
Yeah, like the way we saw Black jumping in there, it is not easy to do that. Like, you need very good timing to be able to jump consistently exactly when you need to, in order to end up right in front of the chest at the end.
Dang! That's a clean Hothead fight right there.
Wow. 0 cycle. Take that, Spearster.
Oh, I see you were in a stream earlier as well.
Yeah, our boy Spearster was complaining earlier that he's... Oh, Wang Boys.
Oh, Wang Boys, run validated.
Spearster has complained that, like, he hasn't had a sub-4 cycle Hothead in such a long time.
All we need now is Xander to get it as well, and then we can just have a big old laugh. It'll be great.
Yeah, let's everyone laugh at the new Canadian world record holder. Nice. So that trick there, I don't even know the timing of it, but basically if you use your magic rod as you're going down that ledge, it'll just spawn a billion fires, and then when you pass through to the next screen, all of the enemies will disappear because of a sprite overload.
I believe that's actually really similar to the trick used in Link's Awakening to despawn bosses.
Yep. Yeah, in Link's Awakening, you can do that like any screen just by using it right before the transition, but in this game, you can only get that through the ledge drops like that. Yes, not the magic rod.
Well, yeah, even after playing this game for a year and a half, I still learn new things in it every day, which is one of the things that makes this game so great. It's just so many ridiculous things about it.
And just to answer the question in chat, we don't require all those things because the game itself doesn't actually have a percentage tracker. So the rules are basically what the community as a whole has decided upon. And as it turns out, we don't care about compasses.
Although I still say we need to have a new feature %. Because there are 8 compasses in this game. And have I told you about the new feature?
These compasses have a great new feature where if you enter a room, they make noises if there's a key in there. Oh my god. I did like a casual playthrough a while back, just for fun. And because I'm not skipping text, I had to read that every single compass. There's so much dialogue from them.
Because, I mean, I don't think you understand how exciting this new feature is. It's the sort of thing where if this were a Ronco commercial, he would say, "But wait, there's more!" And the audience would just start roaring and clapping.
So, Black going through this maze here. Normally you'd need to actually figure out the directions for it, but as it turns out, if you don't read the book to learn that, it's always the same.
Pretty much.
So Black's setting up for the blob quick kill here.
Looks good.
The blob just takes damage while it's touching your sword, but only just the tip. It's sort of RNG whether or not it works, but it seems to be fairly consistent in Hundo.
Alright, now it's time for everyone's favorite late game run killer here. Nightmare Aghanim. Yeah. Unlike Link to the Past, there is no hard cap on blue balls, so if he just starts giving you blue balls and just doesn't stop, well, then you get, I guess, literal blue balls. Yeah.
Yeah, the first two are always going to be round balls. You can return them, but then after that, it's a 50-50 chance for everyone. So Black having a pretty good fight, only one blue ball.
Let's see if he can keep, oh, I guess we'll never know if he keeps Moldrum under control. Sounds like he did.
That looks good to me. And I think he's going to be trying a trick called Death'll Skip, where if he uses the Ocarina on the correct frame, he's going to probably buffer it here. If he does this correctly, he will freeze one of the bats in place, the one at the top of the screen, which we can just barely see. And then it'll be stuck in place, then when we get to the final phase of this boss...
He gets it.
Oh, very good. So this bat's just gonna die right away, and then the game thinks you've killed the boss, so it spawns the stairs for us to go up and finish the game. And we have Black finishing here, and his time on SRL, we have a 1 hour and 21:12. Fantastic.
Ooh! Very strong time. And Xander, right behind him here, starting his own nightmare fight.
And Xander may be losing, but he's gonna have a really nice PB, I think.
Yeah, and this is...
See, oh no, never mind. I thought he was further or slower. His current PB is 1:22:40. So unless he finishes in the next minute, he's unfortunately not gonna have a PB.
Yeah, and he missed a blob quick kill. And we don't know how many blue balls he'll get, so it's looking slim on a PB, but still, he's playing really well today. And let's see now.
So yeah, Xander, hoping for 0 blue balls. We'll see if he gets it. And I alluded, I was joking about the shovel swag before, and that was fully joking, but if you have the shovel at this point, you can actually use it to reflect these projectiles. Unfortunately, Boomerang's just too powerful for that to be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, even though Link shovels and he shovels well, it's just no match for the Boomerang. And...
Is that 3 or 4?
That's 3.
Well, maybe if he's lucky, he can at least get that world record.
Please stop.
Don't stop.
You stop. We're up to 6 now.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, no. Oh, no!
7. 10 more to go. Just don't get a round ball.
Oh, God!
Don't give up, Xander.
Oh my God!
9. Oh my goodness.
Are we going to hit double digits? Oh!
7 more.
Oh,
7 more for the tie. Oh, this is so good.
Oh my!
11.
Ah!
12. So the good thing is he was not going to get a PB no matter what, so like he's had a good run the rest of the thing.
Okay.
12.
Wait, no, he doesn't have the 4th hit yet.
Oh, I thought he already had.
Nope. Okay, there we go.
Okay, there.
Still 12. 12.
Wow. Not quite world record, as people have commented in chat. The world record is 17. I believe it's a tie between, I believe it's Disclude and Watashi machine. Oh god. He's memeing too hard. Oh no.
Oh,
Xander's pulling out his bow for the final phase because
stream
he doesn't care anymore.
cannot handle this level of memery.
So I wasn't planning to commentate on this, but you need 16 arrows into the eye. You can have 4 arrows per opening. And if we're lucky, he might even pull out his bombs and go for a hit with those. Please do bombs, Xander. I'll love you if you do.
Oh, he needs one more hit.
Come on, bombs. No, he
Wait,
missed. What? Oh my god, Xander. He meant you the wrong way.
I don't care you did. I don't care you pulled up both obstacle skips in a wang, boys. I'm just so disappointed.
He doesn't even want the staircase.
I don't even want to finish.
Oh man.
Oh, but
That was such an
GG,
unfortunate